Hello everyone, and welcome back to another WARNO tier list, as the last one has been a while ago in December, and since then we got two patches, we got a new map pool, and we got two new divisions as well, so I thought it's a good time to jump back in here, as the WARNO League also is about to finish, and all those games gave a lot of insight into the competitive scene, next to a good bit of rank play, a lot of meta discussions, and we have a decent picture of how the game looks at the moment. So let's put in the new divisions and let's have a look on how Norfolk divisions developed since we last looked at them as well, as there had been a good couple of changes there. And we're gonna start here with the East Germans. The tier list works with D tier being divisions that you really shouldn't play, as they are, outside of a bit of gimmick, not really competitive. S tier being the strongest divisions in competitive play that are good on nearly every map, or on all maps, and can win up in every matchup, especially. And then A tier is, this division is better than the average and can go well on some maps and is really accelerating there. B is, this is an average division, it does pretty well. C is, it lacks in a couple of things, but still can play decent, and it maybe has a map or two where it can actually function quite nice. So, with that said, let's get into the East German here, starting with Berliner Gruppierung. And that division got a bit better with the T55 change, that the TO55 change as well. The cheaper TO55, the higher availability, the better rate of fire on the T55 helped this division out a bit, but I still don't quite see it. Like, we have seen it a couple of times played, but the hit that it got to its cost in infantry and the availability hit to the rocket artillery still keeps this division slightly out of it. We have seen it played a couple of times. Maybe it's low C tier, like it's pretty close to low C tier at the moment, but I would still put it into high D tier for now. It's not a division that sees much play right now. So yeah, Berliner Gruppierung. I would like to see it higher. It is still a D tier division here though. Then the next East German division, the 4th Motorisierte Schützendivision. That one actually is a pretty good one again. It's the T55 change helped them out quite a bit, and the mod Schützen in it are still good. The MiG-21 changes changed a bit for it as well, but other divisions profited more. And yeah, the 4th is doing a pretty decent job. It's still forward. It has a lot of rush potential, so the 4th mod Schützen here, a decent A tier division that sees a good bit of play again as of late. And the 7th Panzer, a division that we looked in a while ago, and that really struggled against the 9th Panzer when we were looking at it in the last tier list, as back then 9th Panzer was just better. The T-72s were cheaper and were the same price as the ones in 7th, and 7th didn't really have anything going for it. This changed a bit. 7th got the MiG-21 changes and got a bit more cost efficient once more in its things. The T-72's prices got changed up a bit, and all of that helped the 7th a decent bit. So I would put 7th I would put at low B tier now. Like, it wasn't C tier before. I would say it goes into low B tier. We will have a lot of divisions that we can put in front of it again, but 7th has something to play around now again. That it is a cost-efficient division now again, and that was what kept struggling previously. So 7th here in B tier, a really fine division, but not unbeatable, as it still has its late game issues, and it doesn't quite have the high end that other T-72 divisions, the new T-72 divisions get, and its cost efficiency only can get you that far, so you have to really rely on it in the early game, and if the enemy gets a better combined arms online, you will struggle in the late game. And then, yeah, the 9th Panzer we just talked about, that one was S tier when we last looked at this. It was phenomenal, and since then, it got nerfed a bit, It is struggling a bit more in the early game to really get the cost efficiency on the board, but not by a lot. It's still a really strong division. And Knife Panzer goes into A tier here. The T-72S are still great. The other T-72s, the MEV and the M, are still really, really strong as well with their frontal armor. The BMP2s are nice, though you actually don't get the best infantry in this division with them, so it's not quite as amazing as on some other decks, but BMP2 is still a really good one. And the artillery support and air support that you can get is decent enough that it's still a fantastic combined arms division. It's not quite fast enough for the early game that currently is on the top end. And as I said, the T-72 has got nerfed a bit, so that's what keeps it away from its spots earlier. But it's still a good division here. And then we come to KDA. And KDA profited from a couple of buffs to its air tap and so on as well. And also profits in my eyes from the map pool, having a couple more maps that actually allow for the infantry buffs and that it can bring again. And that kind of saves KDA here. KDA going into B tier, as it has the artillery. T-62s also are phenomenal. It also got a buff to its T-34s and T-54, so its fire support tanks got cheaper as well. It got the MiG-21 buff, so its air spam is back online, and all of those things are what makes KDA. So KDA can set up its blob and can now get a solid, really efficient fire support base behind that, and that's always the moments where KDA starts to make click. It's not as OP as it had been in some moments in the past, where KDA actually was completely over the top when it came to cost efficiency. That's mostly because the infantry currently is priced fairly, so it's not OP at that point, and that's usually where it snowballs out of control for KDA if things like that happen, and luckily Eugen learned their lesson, so no overly heavy spam currently coming out of it, but it's still good at spam, and especially with higher support. So KDA here with the T-62s that have the fantastic long-range missiles that can be really, really strong, and getting 2 cards here is nice for this division with the great MiG-21 bombers that are back online now with the price changes, with the Malka and the Smirch, all of that going in nicely and putting it into B tier here. KDA does a good job. Then Rügener Gruppierung, a division that we have even seen in League, though I'm still not sure that this division really got what it needed. It's similar with Berliner Gruppierung. Like, it got a bit of work, but still struggles in most matchups in the late game. We have seen it lose in League a fair bit as well, and most of the time when we saw it, it was actually against divisions that aren't the greatest right now either, so yeah, more in a bit of meme setups, and yeah, that's why Rügener here I would still put into D tier as well. It has something there, and it got a bit assisted with the Merida changes and so on, so yeah, Berliner and Rügener, they could be low C tier currently, as they're a bit more cost efficient, but I still don't see their early game going super well, and I still don't see their late game being anything spectacular either. Like, if they're up against light divisions and they're supposed to counter those, their late game is not quite good enough for that. Like, that's where 4th Motto, for example, comes in really nicely. It has a good early game that is good enough to hold a bit of ground against the top rush divisions, and then it has the better T-55s to really clean up the flow of that. And Rügener and Berliner don't quite get to that level. So D tier it still is here for these guys. Yeah, it's going up. It might be low C tier, but it's not really above that. And then we come to the French. And there we start with the 5th Planet, and that one goes straight to S tier. It is still really busted. It hasn't been changed much yet. Lost its Reserviste in the infantry tab. That's a nice change, but It's still on the radar. Eugen will nerf this division more, but for now, that is still work in progress, and for now, it's still an S-tier division with amazing autocannons, really cost-efficient openers, the AMX-10s that can go into annoying places, fantastic infantry supporting all of this, with strong infantry anti-tank weapons, with the Apilas on some units, with decent VAB and AMX-10P vehicles in there as well, and good special forces that are cost efficient and can deal pretty nicely with infantry as well. And the air tab that is decently cheap enough but capable enough to be a nice support as well. Plus a good artillery piece with the AMX of 1 that just is really gnarly. If the enemy has to entrench with ATGMs, they can just get blown away in pieces in a couple of seconds. And that really makes 5th Blinde still the top dog that it is. So S tier for that division. And then we come to a division that got buffed a good bit. And I believe that brought it back into B tier. Its vehicles of the 11th para, they are back online. They were overpriced by a big margin. And the infantry in this division is still fantastic, always has been, though it pays a lot for the Apilas in some cases, so it's not the best infantry versus infantry infantry tab per se, but its anti-vehicle capabilities are pretty important, with a lot of IFVs and APCs around currently, so yeah, paying extra for the Apilas is not the worst thing, but the vehicles being cheaper and more affordable is the big thing for this division. That really allows it to do its rush thing again, and it does that pretty well. It still is a one-trick pony there, and if it goes into a late game, this division always was lost, and it still is that, so it doesn't really get further than B tier here. The airborne meta is not really a thing right now, so the maps don't allow for it. Like, most maps have pretty slow tick with the middle zones currently, and even the deep zones on some of the maps don't get you enough points. Like, maybe 2 ways or so where you can really get some damage in. This division can really shine on, but outside of that, there's nothing like loop or so where you can just run around capturing points quickly. But it's still a good division. It's back online, especially with the vehicle tab. Like, the vehicle tab being so overpriced kept it really lower in the past, but it's back here. And the same was attempted for its brethren, the 152nd, but I don't think it worked. I don't quite see this division being anywhere yet either. Even with the buffs to its air tab, even with the buffs to its infantry tab. And all these divisions are closer together now. Like, once more, the gap between S and D tier is the smallest it ever has been. But from a competitive standpoint, these 3 divisions are the divisions that I just would never pick, and that I feel like if you would want to play a light division, play 11th. If you would want to play a East German infantry division, you have KDA and 4th up here that are just outright better than these 2 divisions. Like, there's too little going for these divisions down here to really say, oh yeah, I played them. Like, their strong points are not quite strong enough, and their weak points are a good bit too large to really make them work in competitive play. But the baseline that they have is functioning now, especially now that the French, for example, have a lot more air, as the availabilities there got buffed, and they have a bit cheaper vehicles, but that part still, as I said, doesn't quite pan out for me, as we haven't seen Wild 52nd in any league game where they were really successful, and they still don't really got a good game plan, and that's really a problem. I would even put them behind the other 2 divisions here still. The French infantry in that division doesn't quite do it. The special forces are nice, but maybe slightly overpriced for this division. And yeah, 152nd here, going into D tier. Now we come on to the Polish, and the Polish, we start with a division that last time was on the end of C tier in the tier list, and WoW even wanted to put it into D tier, I believe. That division has come around a lot. The T55 changes and a couple of other smaller buffs, and in general just the meta change. And some people starting to figure it out made 4th ZMAC actually jump up quite a bit. And I would put it here around 4th. I would put it slightly above it, as people figured out this division is crazy cost efficient. And that just on its own, especially now with the T55 having better rate of fire and the Merida going down in price, really made this division pop. The T55S is is a fantastic fire support unit there with its mine clearing tools that can just blow up infantry, so you can win town fights pretty easily with this division with those guys close by, as their reload time is quite low as well, and that is a big risk for any enemy. The infantry in it is really cheap. The BMP1 in it is dirt cheap, and having a good amount of BMP1s around that just can fire the ATGMs away can be pretty scary for a lot of enemies. The air tap is good enough as a support to work out, and the OSA buff to better availability really helps making this division move around and do its job as well, as the OSA is a fantastic AA piece as of late again. Another buff that helped out KDA, for example, as well. And yep, all of that just makes this division so crisp, so cost efficient, and gets it up here into A tier. And its brother, the 20th Panzer, we last time had behind the 9th Panzer. Now I would put it ahead of 9th Panzer here into A tier, as this division is just so cost efficient as well. And its T-72s gives you a bit more early game. Another thing for the Polish is that their recon, that goes for both Polish as well, their recon special forces coming in the Honker Rus really are phenomenal as well. The Honker Rus being a special force vehicle means that it is a good bit faster than others and can reach the front line quicker than enemy recon units. Plus, it has a lot of firepower in its heavy MG as well, and can give good fire support in some early infantry skirmishes. We have seen those specially recon infantry units destroy enemy formations quite often by now as well, and all of that keeps these two divisions here really popping out. And 4th ZMAC and 20th Panzer really keeping the Polish in the talking right now. Its brethren in the Corpus Sergeantowi not quite doing that. This division mostly struggles in having nothing on the ground that can kill heavier tanks. And with Leo 2s, with T-72s being so omnipresent right now, it's quite annoying that when you don't have the punching level to hit those medium to heavy tanks well enough to kill them on the ground. And having to rely on your air tap to do it is pretty painful. Even your infantry AT launchers are not really doing that much damage there. So even if the enemy pushes you with tanks, you struggle. The infantry and the anti-soft target, the anti-light vehicle stuff in this division is really good. Like, that all functions, but if you get counted by the meta currently, that's not great. And yeah, that keeps Corpus Sergeantowi here in C tier. Like, the strong points of this division are really good. It has a couple of things that I think it does better than any other division, with its infantry and with its support equipment, and that can potentially really pop. And its tank tap at least is existent. It's not amazing, but it is existent. So it has something that most tank divisions don't get there, most airborne divisions with the tank tap, but that doesn't really save it, as I said, from struggling against the meta, because it doesn't even get Conqueror's ATGMs, and that's a problem. If you can't get any pen against a 17 frontal armor or 18 frontal armor tank, then you're gonna struggle in WARNO currently, and that's what Corpus Sergeantowi does in C tier here. So that's it with the Polish. Next up are the West Germans, and here we start with the 2nd Panzer Grenadier. And that division, with the Leo 283 buffs and no real nerfs, is still a really good division. And I would put it here on the top end of A tier, as that division just really does its job. Yep, it has the forward deploy that the enemy has to respect. It's not great. The Fallschirmjägers are pretty overpriced in their combat efficiency, and they also don't have any AA support up there, but it has everything else and that. So the enemy has to respect that you potentially could have some Fallschirmjägers looking around, and the rest of the deck is just phenomenal. You have good infantry and IFVs. The Panzer Grenadiers with the sniper rifles nowadays can actually take some fights and so on, and you get some good pioneers and Jägers and so on in there as well. And on top, you have a fantastic tank tab. The Leo 1A1 is one of the most cost-efficient vehicles out there. Leo 2A3, especially after the price buff, is back in business as well. And you get a good air tab as well. The tornado bombers can be really helpful, and all of that keeps the 2nd Panzer Grenadier here in high A tier. It's really nice. The iHawks, good AA as well. Gepard iHawk combo there does its job pretty fine, and all of that gets the 2nd Panzer Grenadier one of the most cost-efficient decks out here, without having anything super busted right now that pushes it right into S tier. Like, the Martyrs are good, but they aren't Warrior Oblique or BMP2 good. Like, they are doing their job really nicely, but their autocannons don't just outright delete infantry. Their Milan 1 can't one-shot everything out there, but it's cost efficient, and that's the key part. And yeah, that's what keeps the 2nd Panzer Grenadier up here. The artillery with the MR10 really nice as well. 5th Panzer is pretty similar deck in a lot of things still, with the Panzer Grenadiers and so on coming around. What 5th Panzer also gets is the Leo 2A4C, and that thing is a beast on the top end. It's one of the best tanks in the game currently, and it's just so efficient in its anti-tank capabilities, and one-shots a lot of things out there. Yeah, even can get it quickly to one-shot all the IVs, damages a lot of tanks really heavily, and is fast, good accuracy, all of that. So Leo 2A4 is quite nice. It's the combo with the Leo 1A1s, that you have some cheap tanks and some high-end tanks with this division, is phenomenal. And the AA tab with the Rolands keeps the sky pretty clean as well. That you have some recon with forward deployment is nice as well, helping out a good bit. The Luxus and the Spezialaufklärer, they're getting the job done, and really it's a pretty strong A tier division here as well. The tanks and the Marder combo currently really doing it for the West Germans. So yeah, those divisions nicely up here right now. Then we come to TKS, and TKS has not quite the same issues as Corpus, but it has some issues with dealing with the meta currently as well. Its issues are more IV related than heavier tank related. It can deal with those decently with its air tab, with decent infantry with AT Apilas. You get a good amount of Milan 2s. But your infantry is a key part of your deck, and again, you don't have any autocannons yourself, so you have to play around that a bit. Its M48's got a bit cheaper, but they're still not really there, and the Green Berets are just slightly out there as special forces early on. The Fallschirmjäger B1, Green Beret, AMX-10 RC opener is still great, but they got nerfed with the AMX-10s a couple of times because that was very aimed against 50B, and they just got caught in the crossfire, and that hurt this division for sure. The AMX-10's availability was important in this deck. It still has a good opener. It still has a decent amount of air spam, but it's not super cost efficient and not the insane spam that it was in the past, so that can be stopped as well. And yeah, in general, this division has something going for it, but it's just not quite having what the meta wants you to have right now. So that's why I would put TKS here into C tier. And the Soviets are coming in, and we start here with a division that was D tier last time. And that was because the mid game and slightly later early game with Warned 19th, and even the early game with Warned 19th was a bit problematic to control. And that has changed. As Warned 19th got two really impactful changes. One is the TO55 that has two cards off got better availability and a better vet curve. And that means you can bring two cards of 4 TO55 at 2 veteran seed right now, really making the early game a lot easier for this deck, as that gives you a good light tank with the 2 vet, especially as the T55 also got a better rate of fire with 8 rounds per minute instead of 7. That really allows this thing to start popping. And then the even more impactful one is that it's Mod Redredka now can bring BMP2s. And that gives the division an autocannon, a tool that it didn't have access before to. And all of that pushes this division into B tier. This division currently is a lot of talk because it came back out of nowhere, basically. Like, it was irrelevant. But Skate always played it, one of the top tier players in the ranked ladder, and Skate always was kind of making it work, but it was mostly based on so much one-trick pony skills that it just made it pop, and playing up against players who weren't quite familiar with what it did. In competitive play, it just didn't do it. But now it can do that again. It has a fantastic air tap to keep its tank safe. It has the early game now with the Spaznuts plus BMP2 combo that is really threatening. And also the TO55s to keep you through the early game until you have enough of your T80 UDs online. And once those are all on the battlefield, the enemy is in trouble. The T80 UD is still fantastic. You can protect it nicely with an air tap. You have a good artillery gun that you can bring in that is pretty affordable as well with the Master. And all of that makes 119th here now out of kind of nowhere. And with changes that don't look big on the front end, a really solid division again. So 119th here, going into B tier. And in some matchups, this division can be really scary now. Next division, 27th Guards. That division is still pretty fine. The BMP3 is still a solid unit. The TDBV currently not that amazing. It's struggling with some cost efficiency issues. The AA tab is good. The air tab is okay, but it doesn't quite get the super cost efficiency it had in the past. The BMP2's in it, doing a fine job and all, but it doesn't have the early game, and its late game doesn't have the snowball potential that it maybe had in the past. So this division is still alright. It has every box that you need, and it is just a really plain solid combined arms division. Just isn't as scary as it has been in the past year. So 27th, I would put around here. Then we come to 35th. That division is still really strong. And the BMD2 infantry here in it is still pretty scary. The map pool currently feels like it makes the division struggle a bit more. I haven't actually seen it much as of late, but that's also because it still gets banned a decent amount if the map allows for it to be played around. And people on the ranked ladder just seem, if they want to play meta Soviets, they just seem to go for the even better variant, which we will get to. But the 35th still has something going for it. Last time we still had it on S tier. I would lowered now to high A tier because, as I said, I haven't seen it perform on an insane level anymore as of late, and the the ATGM spam that it had in the past seems to be a bit more beatable with the recon changes that allowed very good and exceptional optics to see a bit more. So 35th still gets the early game, still has a lot of annoying stuff to throw at you, but it seems a bit beatable now. Like that's the thing. It's beatable. So yeah, 35th here, moving into 8th here. This division is a division that can be dismantled. So can 50B, but 50B is just a lot more all round. Like what 50B loses against currently is 20th Panzerna. That's the only matchup that we've seen consistently going 20th Panzerna way, but not all the time as well. Like 20th Panzerna still lost in the WARNO League semifinal on one map and one on another, so it's not a one-way way for 20th Panzerna either, but it has a good bit better chances than most other division against 50B, and it's a fair matchup in this special matchup, but most others 50B is still just outright silly, so yeah, this is still the thing there. So yeah, 35th here, going up into high A tier. The early game with a lot of good forward deployment, the solid air tap, the really just insane amount of ATGMs that this division can bring around, and just set up to defend what it got in the early game is still pretty scary. So A tier it still is, but it's not as busted as I said. 39th, that's another lower A tier division in my eyes. 39th gets BMP2s and gets them with the RPG 22 motor keys, and those are really cost efficient. The division has kind of everything else that you need. It has helicopters, it has decent recon, it has okay aircraft. Like everything you need there, the SU-27 is pretty great, actually. So yeah, all of that goes along. The AA tab is quite solid as well. Yeah, everything that you need in the division is on 39th, and with the BMP2 being the best IV as of late, and yeah, all of that keeping it up. The only thing keeping it a bit down is the tank tab. Doesn't have any cheap tanks, and the T80 BV and B are both not amazing right now when it comes to efficiency, so that's the thing that keeps 39 Fear on the lower end of this. If it would have a slightly more efficient tank, it would go further up again. Everything else in the division slots in pretty nicely. And then we come to 76. And this division, people still try to tell me that it is so strong and so annoying. And the annoying part I agree with. This division still has a really strong opener, and it has a strong air tap, but it feels so manageable in its predictability because it doesn't have a helicopter tap. It doesn't have any tanks that it can throw at you. So yeah, you know what's coming at you, and if you set up right for it, I feel like this division just falls apart in the late game every single time I play against it. Like a couple of divisions just get overrun by it, but the others, I feel like in the late game you can defeat this division pretty reliable, and I would put it around the 11th para now, because it is kind of similar. Like it can rush in the early game and has its one trick, and that one trick is still pretty scary, and if you let it snowball, then that can destroy you. And if you don't manage your air well, and if you don't manage your AA well, then the air tap can just run you over in the later stages of the game as well. But the air tap of this division is by now really expensive, so this is not something that can just switch out of nowhere. The enemy has to set it up, and if you keep them busy on the ground, they can't do that. If you let them do it, you can set up your AA defenses in the same time as well, and then the enemy has to be really good at managing its stuff to get through and not get shut down in pieces. And that here keeps 76 up in B tier with its strong early game, like really strong infantry. The BMD2 is still nice to have with its forward deploy, though it's getting less and less cost efficient the longer the game goes on as well, as you pay the forward deploy tax on every single unit on the ground. And if the enemy just doesn't lose anything for 20 minutes, you lose 5 points for every unit you buy, basically, after the first minute, because you paid those airborne taxes on it. So the cost efficiency of the enemy ground units should just be higher. They can potentially ache like you, so you need to get trades with this division. And you need it more than with 35th because you don't have that combined arms. You don't have that setup for the late game that the 35th can get with some helicopters around and so on. Like, not having any helicopters especially just means that this division is so much more predictable, and I feel like this can be dismantled if you set up for it quite nicely. A division that has it all is 56, and this division is still S tier. Right? As of late, I feel like 50B might even be a slight bit better than it, but 56 here is still a powerhouse. It has everything you need. It has amazing IVs with the BMP2 with good infantry inside. It has strong forward deployment with AA, with the Spetsnaz crew with Stingers. It has still a good air tab. The ATGM planes got nerfed a bit, so that helped out, but they are still scary. The cluster mortar is still scary as well, even though it's slightly nerfed as well. So at least there are a couple of hits. Like, this division is not the absolute juggernaut that is completely unbeatable. Both S tier divisions here are beatable. We have seen them lose a couple of times when each, even when they got through the pick and ban phase. So there are plays that you can beat this with. I have beaten a decent amount now in ranked as well. So this division is not completely over there, but it has a higher win rate than all the other divisions together with 50B, and it is being played more than the others, and that is having reasons. This division just brings it all. It's a fantastic ranked division because the C62 is a really nice tank with the ATGMs. It can control open fields quite nicely. The BMP2 is so good. You get some helicopters. You get the cluster mortars. You get a good air tab. And yeah, that all just comes nicely together. Is a cost-efficient combined arms and just can punch down the enemy. If you want to, you can just buy BMP2s all game, and that can be really scary for every enemy as well. So yeah, 56, still an S tier division here. Next one, 25th Tankovi, and this division is a really solid one as well. The T64s are pretty cost efficient. It has a fantastic air tab as well. Only thing that struggles a bit is the start of the game, where it doesn't get any forward deployment or anything like that. So you have to maneuver a bit through the early stages, but once you get around there, it can be quite nice as well. You still get moderate Redgar with PMPs, so it's not like the early game is completely unplayable. But yeah, you need to get your foots on the ground, but once you get there, the BMP2 plus T64s and the different versions of T64s are all pretty nice, plus great air tab and a good artillery park as well, mean that this division can roll at the enemy with a lot of force. So really, it's only about threading the early game, which is really important right now. That's why this division is not higher, but I still would put it into AT here. Yeah, and that this division can become a really nice steamroller in the later stages. And yeah, it's still decently cost efficient there. Like, those T64s are affordable, while it's still pretty good compared to the T80 UDs, and more cost efficient than the T80 BVs. Like, the T64 is just the better Soviet medium to high tank currently. Then we come to the 6, and 6 mechanized here is 6 Motostrelki. Going into, well, I don't know. It's between high C tier and low B tier. Let's put them into high C tier. It doesn't have any forward deployment. It has a fantastic artillery park. It has a bit of a lack of infantry, and the tank tab has TADBs in there. It's okay, but it's not great. And yeah, no amazing IFV here in this deck. No BMP2s and so on. The BMP1s it gets are the Soviet ones, which are not really that cost efficient either. So C tier here is it gets some mod schützen as well. So yeah, but no Polish BMP1s which are just dirt cheap. The air tab can be annoying, but it doesn't have any seat to really get through and get there long term. And the cluster MiG-21 has been nerfed to a point where it's just not that busted of a plane anymore. And yeah, all of that, the Luftsturmjägers are nice, but the helicopter of them is fragile and pretty expensive. So yeah, C tier here. High C tier sounds about right for this division, as it doesn't do anything much better than any other divisions like 25th that we just looked at. Might just kind of be a better version. It has a similar artillery piece. Really, the only difference being the infantry tab and a bit of more flexible air tab, but 25th has the better air superiority fighters there as well, and so on. So yeah, the AA with the Buk is fantastic as well here, but that doesn't really save you. Like on Mount River, this division still can show up a good couple of times and be really good. And a couple of other maps where the Buk plus their artillery park, the Hyacinth, like if you can set that up on a couple of maps, it can be really nice. But it's not OP in any means, and there are divisions that do a similar thing and have a bit more going for it. So yeah, C tier here for the 6 Motostrelki. Next one is the 79th, and that division we see a good bit as of late as well. I would put it around here in high B tier as well. This division has the only TDBV that actually is pretty okay with the ICD, though it's quite expensive nowadays as well, and it's not completely busted. It's not a Leo 2 A4 or a Challenger Mach 2 that currently just is really nice, but it has the better availability. It has the fast speed. It's a good tank. It's a really solid thing. The ATGM on it is nice as well, and this division still gets the cheap RPG 22 Motostrelkis in BMP2, so that is nice. The recon tab is pretty fine as well. So all of that, I actually would put it above 27th. Yep, yeah, it does the job quite decent. The AA tab is okay. The buff to the OSAS was nice, and it gets okay fighters MiG-29s with the fire and forget missiles are quite nice as well. The A3 variant of the MiG-29. It just doesn't do anything special similar to 27th. It's a bit of a different way. It's a good bit more cost efficient there. But it doesn't have the BMP3 or anything like that, so it lacks a bit there in the high end. So it's a tank division that still needs to win this the mid game against a lot of divisions, because other divisions might have better high end, like the Leo 2A4C here, or the T80UD, and it can win that mid game. It can also survive the early game decently with the cheaper BMP2s and so on, but you have to get through that, and it doesn't really have anything super special getting you there. So yeah, B tier here for the 79th. It's a fine division, but it is just not quite anything fancy. But that's what B tier is for. Good divisions that lack a bit of extra. And that gets us to the new Soviet division, the 157th Motostrelki, the reservist real line formation. And with this one, I'm a bit unsure where to put it. The infantry tab of it is pretty solid, and it has a bit of flexibility there. Gets a decent artillery park as well, that for sure can do a good job. Its AA setup with the Krug and with the T10 is fantastic, but the deck outside of that, we haven't seen it being played super much. and it's having okay tank tap as well. Like what it got there is not bad. Maybe low B tier, maybe high C tier. I would put it around KDA, I guess. Like they're pretty comparable. KDA got a bit better artillery park, and the infantry tab plays a bit different, but both have the great military police unit that keeps the reservists nicely in line. So that helps out a good bit. And 157 is also sending in a decent support. The helicopter is a bit better than KDA, but the recon tab a bit better than 157. So yeah, it's a bit of back and forth there, and I guess they're about the same. Yep, good divisions in its spam. If you want to play a spam division currently, I think those are the best two options. They're not phenomenal, but they are doing their job. If you want to play a reservist spam division, those are the best two options currently in the game. And yeah, that can work out. It's just not really a meta strategy right now. And that gets us to the British, where we start with the semi-British divisions first. The MNet here coming in as the first one. MNet, a division that people are still sleeping on in my eyes. And I would put it here into B tier. I would put it above 11th. Yeah, 119th. I would still put it above as well. The infantry tab in it is really scary now. The Gurkha buff and so on, that really helped out a lot. So the early game of this division is scary, and then it has a lot of mech following that up. The TOW2 Weasel is fantastic for its price point. The autocannon Weasel is really nice availability, and Skibithar's Weasel combo there just gets you a lot of cheap vehicles that you can buy in 1 minute and just bring it to a spot, and if the enemy is not ready for a lot of autocannons, they can just collapse within a minute or two to how many units you can bring around there. And especially with the combination with the early game, as I said, that can be quite nice. The air tap is not amazing, and that's an issue for an airborne deck. If you don't have an amazing air tap, it's still a functional air tap, like it still has things you want. The AA plane is not terrible, and it gets good AA compared to other airborne divisions with the Darkfire. That is a really, really nice piece of equipment, and can shoot down planes quite nicely, help out your air tap there pretty much by a lot, and all of that means that MNet has a scary early game, has something going for it. It's just not having the consistency, and as I said earlier, the current setup is not really an airborne meta. So yeah, it's still a good deck, but it's not quite there currently where it comes to the meta fitting its wave. Though what it does, MNet does pretty well now. Like the infantry price buffs that it got helped it out a lot. A couple more would be nice, and then this deck actually would really slot in there. Yep, B tier here for MNet. It's a division that you want to play if you want to play a division like this, and yep, it's a fun deck. And then we come to Berlin Command, and that still goes into D tier. It doesn't have the air protection it needs. It doesn't have an early game. Its tank tab is a bunch of mediocre tanks as well, and that really doesn't help. The M1 IP is not really there cost efficiency wise. The Chieftain is okay, but also not great. And the MX30B is a nice fire support, but not really cutting it. And the infantry tab that in the past was this division's main attraction has collapsed a decent bit as well. And nobody really falls for the F111 in the long run anymore. So yeah, your stealth bomber doesn't really get you the kills there either. So you have to be then a good bit more careful with how to send in a Nighthawk. People are ready for it, and as I said, with yourself not really having the AA, even with the rapier being around to secure your air tap easily, as your AA Harrier is just still not great. The Harrier got buffed a bit in speed and maneuverability, but it's not quite where it needs to be good as a fighter. The bomber variants are nice, but all of that, yeah, Berlin Command, it just doesn't have it. So detail here for Berlin Command. Fourth, Armored got buffed, and the slight buffs it received made it an okay division, and that is nice. Fourth Armored is getting into a nice lot of cost efficiency. It's not quite there to just abuse it like 4th ZMAC can nowadays, but you get a good amount of Chieftain Mark 6s, you get the good amount of strong infantry that can just come around, and you can throw a bit more veterancy around now with the cheaper slots that it got, and that really helps making this division come in the early game. We had a couple of ranked players that really played it up into the top 20s with a lot of consistency. Like, this deck is consistent in what it does, and that is nice. It has a nice combined arms and so on, but it doesn't have the top end, it doesn't have the early game rush, and yeah, what it does decent. And yeah, as I said, I would put it here into high C tier actually. It just doesn't have anything that is just outright flashy. Its air tap is close to it. If it would have a seat in its air tap, this air tap would be phenomenal, but it doesn't, and that means that your multi-role, long-range missile plus heavy bomb load planes are a bit too risky to use in a lot of scenarios where the enemy could have radar missiles and just shoot them down, and that is something that keeps this division here in C tier, but it does a pretty fine job there. And then we come to the other UK divisions, the old ones, and first starting with the first UK, and that division with the latest challenger price and availability buffs is in a pretty good spot, as the Warrior League is still an absolute beast, and it has a forward deploy that the enemy has to fear. The air tab with the tornadoes is pretty capable as well. The artillery tab, not great, but functional. And the tank tab now, with the mix of chieftains that are affordable. The Chieftain Mark 9 is a mid-tier tank that is something that most other heavier tank divisions just don't get. And then the challengers both being pretty good as well. The Shelling Mark 3 giving you the capabilities of a heavy tank on a nice price point as well, though obviously with a bit of deficits in mobility. And the Shelling Mark 2 now being in a decent cost efficiency point as well. And availability is quite nice too. So the first UK really carried by the Warrior League though. That is, in my eyes, still the best IFV out now right now when it comes to cost efficiency and capabilities. It has a high-end missile. It has 4 frontal armor, meaning that 17 damage missiles from the other side, like Milans and Fagots, don't one-shot it, which is a really important threshold, especially if you fight against Martyrs, if you fight against BMP-1s and so on. Like, that division really helps out by this, and the Warrior also has a good autocannon, so all of that keeps it in A tier here and gets the first UK in a nice spot. And then we come to second UK, which was high A tier last time, and now with the Challenger availability and price buff, and it having 2 cards of those, goes up to S tier once more. It had been there in the past, it's back here. The SAS plus helicopter opener it gets is quite nice, and with now 6 challengers instead of the 4 that it got before on one vet, this division really can survive a good bit longer than it could get in the past. If you get the CV one next to it, this division really gets there. So second UK here, a fantastic division, S tier, and really scary. It's slightly behind the other 2 still, but only slightly. The rocket helicopters are really nice, and we have seen a lot in the league because, yeah, after the second 56 and 5th DP ban. It's just the best deck they left over often. And then second UK rules the house, and that makes this division really, really scary. So yeah, second UK here. So much cost efficiency. Great opener. It has IFVs, it has heavy tanks, it has good artillery as well. The air tap can be scary if the enemy forgets about it, and that all keeps the UK up here. Good infantry with low ADs and so on as well. So, yeah, good job there by second UK. Could use a small bit of nerfs as well. Like everything up to first UK here, or up to for ZMAC, I would say. Like all of these divisions could still use a nerf or two to put them a bit down, and everything down here could use a buff or two to get them up. And then we come to the Americans here, and we start with a division that is still not quite doing it, and that is the 101st. And this is having similar issues to do TKS. It just gets overrun by 5 support units. Like, it struggled so hard to deal with IFVs. It doesn't have ITO. Its M1 IP is a bit inefficient and not good enough in availability. If the M1 IP would get the availability buff, this division would jump up nicely. It has good forward deploy. The deltas are in a pretty good spot. It has good helicopters. Its air support is mediocre, but it has good air control with the F-15s and the F-4s there. So it's this division doesn't have anything major that it is lacking. It has good infantry, but as I said, the IV matchup is just a bit of an issue, as you have to rely on your TOTUs, and TOTUs are just not quite cost efficient. Like, if you would have ITOs in this division, both for infantry and maybe on some vehicles here and there, this division could go a lot further. If the Humvee, there would be a Humvee ITO variant that would be 20 points cheaper or 15 points cheaper, this division would be helped a lot, but there is not. So yeah, airborne's here. Going into C tier, the 101st, as they have it all what to be a decent division, and they have some things that they do better than others with the helicopters, with the deltas, but it's not something that just gets you through the game, as it's currently slightly off meta in what it does. Then 11th ACAF, and that's a division that still plays pretty similar to 25th here as well. It has IFVs, it has the M1s that are, when you get them onto the board, quite scary. It has a good air tap, both in air superiority and support. And yeah, that keeps the 11th ACAF there in a nice spot. I would say it does it a bit less efficient than 25th. It doesn't quite have the BMP2 numbers and so on, but the infantry that you get is still pretty okay. And yeah, you get some martyrs there, and the Bradleys and the recon tab help out nicely as well. So 11th ACAF still with a lot of potential. It's just that, yeah, the division doesn't have the explosive early game that these divisions here can have, the first 6, and it doesn't quite have the cost efficiency of 1A1s and T-72s that these divisions here get. So this division a bit further back, but still quite capable. Then 24th, and that division I would put into high C tier as well, I guess, as the Bradleys are pretty nice. The rest of the division kinda isn't. The National Guard M1 and the M1 IP are both not in the greatest spot, and that's an issue here between all 3 M1 IP divisions currently. A slight buff to these would move this one up to higher B tier, this one potentially to B tier as well, and this one out of C tier most likely. Yeah, and they also struggle with cost efficiency in the air, as the Strike Eagle is great, but it's not super affordable, and the rest of the air tab is also pretty expensive and or not that hard hitting. So yeah, the all of that keeps this division in C tier. The Bradleys are nice. It doesn't have a good rush though, and yeah, all of those, like, it's just not quite in the meta right now what this division does. And the reservist trait hits the National Guard units quite hard, so C tier it is. And talking about National Guards being hit quite hard by the reservist trait, that brings us to 35th. A division that got buffed a decent bit as well. So it is not quite the low end of D tier anymore. And as I said, all these D tier divisions are scratching now on C tier. Like, all of them are pretty much on the same level of, I still wouldn't play them, but they are not far away from getting back in here. Whilst all C tier divisions, you can play them, you just have to know that in some matchups you will struggle. And in fact, I still love playing 4th armored, but in some matchups it's just kind of pain, and it's not what the meta expects right now. And yeah, 35th is just a bit more lost with the reservists that just are pretty hurt, and they're not quite having the spam potential that you would want with a division that has that high of a deficit with the reservist trait. So D tier it goes here for 35th. Then 3rd US, a division that I would put into lower B tier now, as it struggles with cost efficiency. It has everything else. It has good air tap. It has, or especially good AA with the F-15, with the AIM-120s. It has really strong tanks still, and it has good IV. It has good helicopters. The fire support is pretty decent as well. The recon is functional. It is lacking in the early game, and it is lacking in cost efficiency. If the enemy starts to take away your combined arms, you can collapse quite quickly, so you have to set it all up. And as I said, it doesn't quite have the early game of 119th. It's still a bit better than 119th in the top end and in the late game, but the early game matters. So 3rd US here, going into a lower B tier. Yeah, it's doing an okay job, but it isn't quite doing it as well as you would want. Then we come to 82nd Airborne. That division also, it got a couple of buffs to its infantry lately. It has a good air tap. It has pretty scary helicopter tap as well. And I would say this all keeps it in B tier here as well. It has an issue with IFVs as well. And 82nd Airborne, the LAV got nerfed quite a bit. The Sheridan is not in a great spot right now either. And it could use a bit of love there, maybe, to help out dealing with IFVs. Like, the issue of this division really is just IFVs, as it has TOW2s as its main ATGM, and they are just not cost efficient against IFVs, and against some medium tanks like T-72s as well, where they might be a bit overkill, and you can't just have them in the numbers around that you would want them. So all of that keeps 82nd out there. If the TOW2s would go down slightly in price on the infantry, or if they would get an ITO, this division would be helped out a lot in what it can do. But yeah, currently it just has a tough time against the matchup. It does still do its airborne thing better than 101st and so on, and that still is a key thing. And it has an amazing air tap and can help out against something that 101st doesn't have either. So, like, its strong points are a bit more meta and a bit scarier than 101st currently, so that's why I would put this division still in B tier. Its issue is also that its infantry costs quite a bit as well. And as I said, it got buffed a bit, but they are still not in a great spot. So that's why it struggles against some of the other forward deploy divisions in a bit of weird matchups as well. So yeah, that's why 82nd here. I would even put behind 3rd, and yeah, slightly above 7th here in this slot. That looks pretty good. And then we come to 8th US. And that got buffed a bit lately. Before, it was low B tier. Now it's higher B tier again. The M1 and the M60 got buffed. And that helped out the division a decent bit. And now it does its job as the basic American division quite well again. Yeah, it's just a really basic division, and it does that with all you need. It has a decent air tab, it has a decent helicopter number, with the Cobra being quite nice. It has a recon tab that gets you the units you want, but they don't get rush. And like you don't get any rush. That's the issue compared to second Pence Grenadier or so. You don't get the rush, and you don't get any real IFVs in this division either. You get some recon Bradleys, but no IFVs, so that's a problem as well. But you get cheap enough tanks to deal with that, and you get the cheaper ITOs as well, and you get a good amount of good infantry. And the tank tab is competitive again. You get a good artillery park as well. So all of that, keeping it around in a nice spot. It does it a bit more cost efficient than 27th, but doesn't have the IV there. So yeah, all of these three divisions here are in a pretty similar spot here. They are competitive. They can work in every matchup. You just have to sometimes work a bit extra compared to the top end divisions, and have to be careful of the map and how you play it, as your openers aren't as clean as these, and openers, as I said, matter a lot currently in the gameplay, and will always most likely, but maybe a bit more than usual right now, though less than in the airborne meta. And we come to the 9th Infantry, and that got nerfed a bit with the aim time of its ATGM vehicle, and with the cost of its amazing recon sniper. All of that, I would say, push it to the low end of A tier. And yeah, this division still has some phenomenal matchups and still can be pretty scary. But the Americans currently all having a bit of a cost efficiency issue. This division, yeah, struggles a bit with that as well. The tank tab of it is okay, but M60s are not really winning any medals right now. Could use maybe slight buffs there as well. Yeah, tab, pretty expensive. And yeah, it's fast, recon, and the CSCV and so on. They're still key, but as I said, it's not quite as explosive as it had been in the past. And you have to get something done there, otherwise you will struggle. The infantry tab it gets is quite nice, and it still has a lot of fire support units there against other airborne divisions, against divisions that don't have as many IFVs, that just can run around. Like, this division can be really scary. Its matchup against the 6 US infantry is outright obnoxious and just feels atrocious as this division struggles against such light support vehicles a lot. And yeah, that's what this division does really nicely. And yeah, 9th US up there in A tier. It doesn't quite have what the higher end divisions have. It doesn't have any IVs and so on. So yeah, that's what keeps it down where it is right now. And then the other US division I would put into high C tier. I'm between low B, high C tier. Let's put it into high C tier. The 6 US, as that division has a really scary air tab, and it has a nice forward deployment segment there, as the seals are really nice in the opener. It has normal airborne that can be helpful as well. It doesn't have any tanks, and it struggles a bit with IVs as well. And it struggles with divisions that can take away its air quite nicely and then just play on from there. Its artillery tab is not great. It is there, but it is not great. And yeah, that means that in the later stages, without tanks, without good artillery, this division can be, and without any IVs, can be outrated. The M48s and the recon tab are nice, but they're not game winners on their own. So you have to win with the air tab, and if you can't do that, then this division struggles. It's one of the best abusive air tabs in the game, with the recon A10, with the good bomb loads that you have on your bombers, with fantastic seaplanes plus F-15s in the sky. Like, this deck can do the job, but it's also pretty expensive there. You don't have any cheaper fighters than the F-15. That's quite annoying, because that means you have to get that expensive fighter every single time, and it's not the one of the M120s, it's only the one with the M7s, and the Sparrows are just not quite there. They maybe could use a 5% accuracy buff or so. As the F-15 doesn't feel as consistent as you would want it to be for the surprise point, and the Sparrow in general just feels a bit under-modeled currently in WARNO, and yeah, that just all puts 6 US here into a high C tier, but it lacks the killing capabilities to really finish the job often. Then 16th Belgian, and we had this in a higher position last time. I would put it into C tier here as well. As the layer 1s are currently, the layer 1s that it relies on, the 1A5s, are just not cost efficient enough. And it relies on them. Its infantry tab is fantastic. The Belgian infantry with the good Ehrlichen autocannon vehicle is nice. Its recon tab is nice. Artillery tab is functional. The AA tab is not good, but good enough with your cheap stuff to kill enemy planes, like the Mistral Gepard combo works. And the air tab is a decent support tab as well. This division wants to have the Leo 1A5 and Leo 1BE in a decent spot though, and they're just quite not. And 5 points buff might be enough for both of them to actually get them around the corner. So yeah, if the tank tab just gets a slight bit more efficient, if they get 10 points cheaper, this division immediately could jump up to 8 here, maybe even. Like it's really reliant on that thing. But yeah, currently this division just doesn't quite pop, and yeah, it might be low B tier, might be high C tier, like. But I would put it here into high C tier currently. It's better than these divisions, I would say, by a bit. Like, these 3 divisions are all a bit more solid than this. Though, yeah, in the end, the Belgians still not quite popping right now. And then we come to the 4th Division. And here, exactly what we were talking about when we were doing the last tier list was coming reality. We were like talking about how this division was C tier, but a small buff could make it explode, and it got actually quite considerable buff with the 4th Division getting Irehawks, and that keeps its tanks alive. And those tanks are fantastic. Those are Leo 2A4s, 2A4B and 2A4C, both with great penetration, and if you can keep them away from enemy ATGM planes, this division just shreds, and it shreds really hard. There's a reason why Skivik went on a 100 win streak with this deck, as it is just really abusive in some matchups, and in the others it still does fine. The Recon CNV autocannon truck for 55 points is fantastic. The tanks are great. The infantry tab gets you a nice combat. The air tab is pretty cost efficient in what it does as well. And you get an M110 artillery piece as well that can just nuke everything that in a stalemate situation as well. So yeah, 4th Division just exploded, as you can keep their stuff alive. The Cheetah is a amazing AA piece as well, if it isn't the only one you rely on. 2 of these often can kill off flyover planes. They absolutely murder helicopters. Like, any helicopter getting in there for a split second just gets deleted. And yeah, that makes the Dutch really amazing. Their infantry is not quite OP. They don't have forward deploy. That's the difference there to S tier, as they have a bit weaker infantry than 50B. They don't have the forward deploy of 56 and 2nd UK, but they still have a good early game with that autocannon with solid Dutch recon, and then a good follow-up. We have seen it a couple of times falling apart when the combined arms got shot away under it, but it lost a couple too many tanks and so on. And then it's IFVs not having ATGMs can be a bit of a problem against some divisions, but in general it's a really good unit division. Even its TOW 2 carrier and the tank tab is quite nice as well. So yep, so this division going here into A tier, and this is the final tier list. So what do you think about it? Would you agree? Would you put any of the divisions somewhere else? Like, do you make Brugner work really well or so? Let me know down below, and see you all in the next one, guys. Bye bye, and have a great day.